Welcome! My name is Debbie and this is Pouring My Art Out for the Lord, and this is part 2 in making our folio. If you haven't seen part 1, I'll link it below and I'll also put it up on the cards here so you can click on that. But we're going to make this folio, and I've already showed you the basic structure of the file folder. So we have flip outs and pockets and all kinds of things here, and there's a journal in the middle, and then we close it. The journal actually is removable, and we close it with this, and yeah, I think it'll be a lot of fun and easy to do. I'm going to go through it step by step. So this is part 2, and this one I made a couple of years ago with a kit from the Bible Journal Love. It was a class with Bible Journal Love on the Gospel era, and I used these papers that went along with it. And this time I'm going to use papers from All Things Roses, put out by, it's a new kit, put out by the Junk Journal Studio. So I have 5 papers that I've printed out here, these 5 papers that I am going to begin with to decorate this folio. I'm going to print out more. I just love these papers, such beautiful colors. And if you stick with me, I'll show you how to get these pages for free. And I'm going to tell you about getting much more of this kit for free. And I'm going to show you some of the beautiful ephemera that goes along with this kit. So stick with me, and we'll explore this together. We'll make this folio and have a lot of fun at the same time. So I'm just going to put this to the side for a minute. And we've gotten to this part in our folio. So if you haven't done this part, then I would suggest that you go to part 1 and check that out first. I have decided that I want these two, this flap and this pocket, a little bit shallower. So I'm just going to see if I can do this on my cutter somehow. And just, let's see what I could do here. If I go to 3 inches, that would probably be good. So I'm just gonna, well, let's see. I'm just gonna line up on the line here. I'm gonna line up at 3 1/4 inches, which actually doesn't really mean, well, yeah, it does. So this total flap will now be 3 1/4 inches. No, sorry, 2 3/4 inches, and this flap will be 2 3/4 inches. So I'm just going to cut that off, and then I'll show you what I mean. So I just left whatever was left on the file folder before. So now I cut them off, I think about 1/2 inch. And now this is going to be 2 3/4 inches of a pocket, the depth of the pocket. And this is going to be 2 3/4 inch for a flap there. So I am happier with those heights. I'm just going to put a little bit more ink on the top there. And then I have a couple of pieces that I want to add still for the structure before I do any covering. And the first thing that I wanted to do is this part here. I want to make this flap here. So I'm going to have this flap, and that will contain a bunch of goodies underneath. Hopefully that was in frame. So I'm going to make this flap here. This flap is what we just trimmed down, and I'm going to make this flap. So I've already determined that what I want it to be is 3 7/8 inch wide and 7 1/2 inches tall. So 3 7/8 inch wide and 7 1/2 inches tall. If your file folder is different, then what you want to do is measure it from this fold to this fold. And so mine was about 4, so I subtracted 1/8 of an inch so that I could fit it in here comfortably when I folded things over. And then I decided how tall to make this. I want a 1/2 inch flap here, so I put 1/2 inch up here. And I decided to come down to 7.5 inches. As long as you're below this, it doesn't really matter. But if your file folder is different, you may need to measure that yourself. So there's my flap. I chose to round the bottom edges. I didn't do that in the first one, so you can decide whether you would like to do that or not. I'm just going to ink around these edges there. And then what I want to do is I just want to glue this on, this flap on here. So I want to bend the flap back, and then I want to put glue on the underside here. And then I just want to press that onto there. So let me just grab which glue is going to work for me today. Okay, so I'll just line that up from side to side and right at the top there. Make sure you can close your 2 sides without any binding there. And there is the top of my flap. We are going to cover this, but I probably would ink. I'll wait until it dries a minute so I don't move it, but I'll just put a little bit of ink on that part there. I'm going to cover this as well. Over here, what I had done in the first one, and I like the look of it, is I'd made these pockets look like little file folders. So I'm going to do the same thing on this one. So I'm just going to show you how I do that. I'm just going to take a little piece of, just a scrap of file folder here, just to show you this is something that I had cut off of here. I have an envelope punch board. If you don't have an envelope punch board, you can just shape this by hand. But I'm going to use this. So what I'm going to do is make a flat tab on this side, and I chose to put it at 2 inches. So I'll line the left hand side at 2 inches and punch that down, and that gives us that rounded V there. Then I'm going to put this edge right in the middle of, there's that notch there, so you can see there's the width of the notch is about 1/8 or a little more of an inch. So I'm lining this up right in the middle of that opening, punching again, and there I have my nice little tab. So then what I'm going to do is just cut off this excess. I'm not going to worry about it on this, it's just an example, but I'll measure the other one. So you just cut off that, and then you have your nice little tab shape. So I'm going to do that with this piece here first. So it doesn't really matter which side. I'm going to put 1 tab on one side and 1 tab on the other side. So I'll just do it on this side. So I'm going to line this up at 2 inches and punch. And I'm going to line this up right in the middle of the opening and punch. And then I want to trim off this excess here. So now I am going to be a little bit careful on how I do this. I could do this on the trimmer if I want. I think I'm just going to line up this little tab part and this bottom here and just draw a line like that. And just trim that excess off there. And then we have our first little tabbed pocket. And I'll just put a little bit of ink on that. And because this is kind of rounded here, I'm just going to take the envelope punch board and just round this corner here as well. And if you don't have the envelope punch board and you don't want to cut these tabs by hand, then just make straight pockets. It'll work totally fine. It'll actually be easier to cover them even, and it will look fabulous, so don't worry about that. The other pocket I decided to make is between here and here, so between these two folds is 5 inches, so it's 4 3/4 inches, and so I took 1/8 of an inch off of that, so I put 4 5/8 of an inch, because this is 4 6/8, so 4 5/8 of an inch wide. But I wanted to have tabs on here, 1/2 inch on each side, so I added 1 inch. So that's 5 5/8 of an inch wide. And then my depth, I wanted it to tuck in a little bit here, and I didn't want it to stick too far out, so you can kind of decide what you want to do. But what I did is this width here is 2.5 inches. So that's what I did for my pocket. So I'm going to make a tab on here as well. So I want the tab now on this side, because this one is on this side. So I'm going to fold this tab back on the left-hand side, put this fold at 2 inches and punch. Then I'm going to open the tab and put this fold line right in the middle of that opening and punch. And then when we close this, we have our pocket flaps, and we have our tab there. And then I'm going to cut this off as well. So I'm going to just line up my ruler again and trim that off. And you can, if you want, you can straighten this one out. Doesn't really matter, but I feel better with it straight. I don't know why, I just do. So there is that one. So that one is going to tuck in here. So I'm just going to quickly ink that one as well. So the bottom's not going to be showing, so I just inked that part. You don't have to write all over your pockets like I did. I'm going to cover mine, but you might choose just to grunge them up a little bit and not cover them. So then that would be, you wouldn't want to have writing all over, but so that's how my pockets will lie. So this one I'm not going to attach yet because I do want to mat the back of this first. So what I have done is I have taken each one of these panels, like I did here. I'd inked all around all the edges, and I covered all these panels with some pattern paper first. So that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to use the All Things Roses freebie pages actually for. So I'm just going to kind of roughly line this up and see how long I want this piece, and I think I want it about 5 inches, I'll say. 5 inches tall. So what I did is I measured each one of my panels and I wrote down exactly how wide they are. So wide and tall. So this one is 4 inches wide by 8 1/4, 4 3/4 by, this one I put 5 inch tall because I don't need to go all the way to the bottom because the pockets are going to cover that. I wrote, this is actually, that was before I cut it. After I cut it and folded it, then I only want 7 inch tall for the pattern paper. And then I'm going to put pockets here, so I'm probably not going to worry about that one yet. This one, the flap will come down, so I'm going to mat the whole thing. I'll probably have a pocket here as well, but I find it easier just to mat everything mostly and then kind of add the pockets as I go because I don't know exactly how I'm going to do everything. But anyways, I marked all of these front and back to see how I need to cut my paper. So that just makes it easier for me. When I'm cutting my papers, I will cut probably about 1/8 of an inch shy of all of these measurements. and then I'll have these pieces of paper, and then I'll attach them all onto here. So maybe I'll show you just how to do the first one, and then I'll do the rest off camera, because this is kind of a boring thing to watch. So let me just, doesn't really matter. Let me just do this pocket one here, 4 3/4. Actually, let me do the cover, because I do want to have a special piece on the cover. So this one is 4 by 8 1/4, and this little part of the tab will stick out. If you want to include this in the mat, you can try to figure out how to do that on your rounding. I don't want to be bothered by trying to figure out those measurements. You can do it that way. I have done it that way in the past, but I'm just going to cut straight down. So 4 inches by 8 1/4. So I want this for my cover. So I want it to be, this is 8 1/2 tall, so 8 1/4 is going to work perfectly for my height. So I want it to be 3 7/8, because this is 4 inches wide, and I want a little bit of a border. So I'm going to do 3 7/8. And I want this girl on the front. So if I just do it 3 7/8, then I'm going to cut right in the middle of her. So I'm just going to cut, I think, just on the other side of her. If she's not completely centered, I'm good with that. So I'm just going to cut so I have this piece separate, and then I'm going to turn it around, see if this is going to be wide enough. 3 7/8. So 3 7/8 on here. Oh, I think it'll just get her on there. Yeah, so that'll be perfect. So that will go right there. And it's 8 1/4 tall, so that is 8 2/8. So I'm going to do 8 1/8. So I think I'm going to take that off of the top on this piece. So I want 8 1/8. Take this little bit off, and that should fit perfectly on my piece here. So it's just going to be a little bit of a border around. I don't want much of a border. This one had a bigger border. So I think I probably did -1/4 of an inch for this one all around. So you can do that if you prefer. I'm going to do mine a little bit tighter this time. So, and then I'm just going to ink around the edge of this, and then use whatever kind of glue that you prefer. I have one of these old ATG guns we used to use back in the day. And I haven't been using it lately, but I thought maybe I should start using it. I have tons of this tape. I bought a case of it the last time, and I'm running out, so I'll have to switch that. Just going to put a tiny dab of glue on each of the corners, and maybe just a couple along the side here. Probably not really necessary, but and I'm just going to open this up and line it up as best I can. There. Beautiful. I love that. I love that already. So I'm just going to do all of the pieces that way. I'm not going to worry about the spine at this point yet. I'm not going to worry about the pockets yet. So I'm just going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, I already did 3, 4. But I'm just going to carry on and do the rest of those, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so I have mostly covered the 4 panels. I'm leaving this one to show you for a second. So I've got this one, this one, this one covered. This one I only covered part way because of the pockets. I haven't done the flaps or anything yet. And on the other side, I've got my 4 panels done, not my spine, and my tabs are just open there. So on this one, what I decided to do is, because it's more, I could have cut this tab down and you can do whatever you want, but I just decided to leave it like that. So I cut this to be the whole size of the widest part. So the widest part is 3 7/8. I actually did it 3 6/8, which is 3 3/4, so 1/8 less, and then 8 1/8 height. So that's what I cut it. I inked around the edges. I'm just going to put some tape around the edges here. There's many different ways you could do this sort of matting. You can take your time and do it in a different way. In my mind, if it's too tedious, it's not fun, and if it's not fun, I don't want to do it. I'm crafting. I'm making something beautiful. I'm enjoying the process, and that's how I look at it. So I'm going to just line this up on here. Line it up on there. A little bit more on that side, I think. Okay. And then press that on. And then on this side, if we look, we have this much sticking out and this much sticking out. So all I'm going to do is just trim that off. That's what I did on the other side here that you can see. That part and this part here. So to me, that's the easiest way to do it, and I'm totally fine with the results that produces. I'm going to give that a little bit of an ink. Maybe down here I may round that edge, just because most of the outside edges here are rounded. So I'm just going to round that edge as well. And then I'll ink where I rounded it. And I also see I did the same thing here, but I didn't trim off this edge, so I'll just trim that edge off. You could round these edges so they're identical, but I actually really like the way that corner is, so I'm just going to leave that like that. Once you trim off things, give it a little bit of ink where you just trimmed it off. So there is the beginning of my folio. I have all of those pieces matted, so I'll be right back to show you what I'm going to do next. Okay, before we continue with the folio, I just wanted to show you a little bit, tiny little bit, of the All Things Roses kit. I cut out just a couple of pages of the fussy cuts. There are 10 pages of fussy cuts, and they are just gorgeous. I think these fussy cuts are worth the price of the kit alone. And there's so many more pages in the kit. Aren't they just beautiful? I used my Cricut to cut them out, so they're beautifully cut out. So there's yellows and pinks and teals. There's a teacup with a bird in it. Just gorgeous, gorgeous images. If you like roses, you will love this kit. And it's kind of a, Victorian vintage vibe on the kit. Look at this. Isn't that cute? I guess it goes this way. Isn't that cute? There's a few different hands in the kit. Lots of roses, separate and in vases and in baskets and different sizes, different colors. Just so many. They're just so beautiful. Look at this wagon with the roses. Here's a little rosebud vase with a beautiful rose in it. So those are just gorgeous. So I would really encourage you to go check that out. I'll link the kit below again. I didn't cut out near all of the fussy cuts. There's, like I said, 10 pages of these, but I just cut out a few because I thought that's probably what I would use in this project. Here's a couple other pages that I'm going to use in this project. This is from the ephemera kit. I don't know, there's several pages of tea cards as well. This is just one of them that I selected to print. Beautiful, beautiful images. These are kind of distressed looking, which I love. And here is a postcard, front and back, and a bunch of different tickets, you know, in the colors of the kit. Beautiful, different sizes. Here's another postcard. So front and back, you can use it like a tuck. You can back it onto, glue them back to back, or you could use them separately. Here's a couple of large stamps and some smaller stamps. These ones are canceled. Here's, I'm just noticing that my printer is making lines here. These lines are not on the original kit. I don't know what is happening. I might have to clean my print head, because I know these lines, these vertical lines are not in the kit. So I'm sorry about that. So here's a couple of pockets, folded pockets, and some labels, some blank labels, a library card that says All Things Roses on it. And all of these I cut out in lightweight cardstock. And here's some labels with vintage images. Gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous. I love all of those. And then this page of tickets, or labels rather, there is this one, and then there's one which is the same tickets but without any of the writing, so you can add your own stamps or whatever you want. So beautiful. Love the colors. Love, love, love. And then I printed out a couple of more pages of the freebies. There are 9 design team members, and between them plus the main Junk Journal studio, Michelle, is going to participate in this as well. There's going to be 52 pages of freebies, and these freebies are only going to be available through our channels till the end of February, and then Michelle is going to put them as a listing in her Etsy shop, so you can still get them, but if you want them free, you have to act quickly. So each one of the channels is going to feature some sort of project with these freebies, and they're going to tell you how to get the freebies. I am going to link my freebies, which is 5 pages I showed you last time, and it's the ones that I have been using to cover my folio so far. Those are all my freebies. So if you go to the link below, you can grab my freebies, and then I will also link all of the channels for the design team members, and they have until the end of February to put a video out with the freebies that they have. So not everybody's going to be not everybody's going to have their freebies available at this time. They will roll out before the end of February. So you can go to each member's channel and please subscribe and like their videos. They're going to make fantastic projects with this. Please like and subscribe to my channel as well, and we really, really appreciate that. But each one of the design team members is going to, when they feature their freebie and feature the project, they're going to use the hashtag #AllThingsRoses, and that should be in the video title. So if you just look at each one of the channels, if you subscribe to them and click all notifications, you're not going to miss them. And then when they have a video out that says All Things Roses, then just go to that video and they'll tell you how to get their freebie. So this is a freebie from another one of the design team members. I believe this is Belinda from Visualized. And then this one And I know those vertical lines are not there. I actually don't mind them. I think they look kind of cool, but I know that they're not there in the original kit. So I just printed this as a piece of copy paper, front and back. And this is also a freebie. So she's got, like, this is, see, this one is not having the vertical lines. This one is a pink version, this is a blue version, and I think there's also a yellow version of this paper. I love this paper. This one I printed on cardstock, so this one I am going to use to cover my spine, front and back. So that's why I printed that one on cardstock. So I just wanted to show you a quick little flip of just a tiny part of the kit, and to show you some fussy cuts and tell you how to get the freebies. So let's get back to the project now. Okay, I'm just going to work on my spine here next. So I want to cover the inside and the outside of this spine piece. So mine is pretty much 3/4 of an inch from the outside fold line to this outside fold line. So I'm going to just cut mine just shy of 3/4 of an inch so that I have, so it's not going over that fold line there. Oops. So I just have, this is a piece of the digital paper from All Things Roses, but it's on lightweight cardstock. And I've been using mostly just paper up until this point. So that's 1 inch, that's 3/4, so it's just a pretty small measurement here. So I'll line that up in there. Let's see if that is going to be wide enough. Yes, that is perfect. Perfect. It's just inside those 2 layers there. So I'm going to ink this up on both sides. And then I'm just going to see where I want to cut that off. So right about there. I'll just use my scissors to cut off that little excess there. And just glue that on. Okay, and I'll just do the same thing for the inside. Alright, so I thought I would cover these 2 pockets next. So I've cut a piece out. I measured the pocket without the tab here. And this one is 4 3/4 by 2 3/8. So I took off 1/8 of each of those measurements. So this is 2 2/8, which is 2 1/4. And this will be 4 and... so 3/4 is the same as 6/8, so it'll be 4 5/8 is this piece. I'm giving you the measurements, but a lot of the file folders are slightly different. So if they're slightly different, you do need to measure yours and just see what yours are. And then this pocket was a little bit narrower, so it was 4 5/8 by 2 1/8 up to the top edge without the tab. So I did this one by 2 inches by 4 4/8, which is 4.5 inches. So I cut this one out of the pink and this one out of this teal. So I think that looks really nice together. The other thing I thought I would do is I have this, there's a rounded edge here. So I thought I would round this edge to match, and I think I'll just use my 1/4 inch round bit there. I think that looks like it matches better. And then I will have to do the same on these papers. So I'm going to, I'm not sure if a 1/4 inch is going to really match up with that. Yeah, it looks perfect actually. And then this one will be this corner. And just add a tiny bit more ink on those guys. Like that. And I'll just use my big ATG gun here to glue those 2 on. Or tape them on rather. There we go. And this one I'll just do before I attach it. It'll be a little bit easier. There we go. The papers in this kit are so beautiful, it's hard to decide which ones to use. So I'm going to glue this one underneath first. And you have a choice with this one. You could make the pocket. Let's grab a piece of ephemera here. So you could make the pocket just up to the bottom here and glue down this bottom. And because you've got a lot of space up here, that's still a deep enough pocket. Or you can just glue it on the two sides, and then this pocket will go all the way down to the bottom. And I think that's what I'm going to do. I like to have the flexibility of doing that. So I'm not going to put glue on the bottom. I'm just going to put it on the two sides here. And then I'm just going to tuck it in where I think it will look good. I want it to be below the other pocket. Below the top of the other pocket rather. So that looks about good to me. So I'll just give that a second to adhere. And this top pocket has the flaps, so there's a little bit extra room side to side on this pocket. It's not so tight. This is one that we just did from down here, and we could have cut tabs off because we did cut those pieces off and put them away. But I thought for the bottom pocket, it's good to have it a little bit tighter maybe, and this one will be a little bit more flexible. So again, on here we don't need glue on the bottom because it's just a fold there. So I'll just glue on the two sides and just burnish that a little bit until it adheres. And then those two pockets are done. I just decided when I was trying out this pocket here, I love this piece of ephemera just attached to the back here. And then you could still add things in the pocket over top and it'll look a little bit more layered. So I'm just going to glue this one right to the back. So I'm just going to ink around the edges a bit here. There, that is beautiful. I wasn't going to start decorating yet, but it just seemed like that fits. So this is the front of one of the postcards, I believe. But of course you can use them for whatever you like. So I love that. I love that. Okay, and then I want to cover this flap front and back. So to do that one, I'm just going to take a paper that I want to use, and I'm just going to put it underneath the flap and just kind of line it up corner to corner here. And then I'm just going to make sure it's straight, and I'm just going to trace around it with a pencil. This is an easy way to get the right shape. And then when you cut it out, you can cut it just inside those lines there. So I had already cut out one, so I'm just going to actually cheat a bit and put this on top. So once you've cut one out, you don't have to trace the second one. You can just trace it and cut it out. The second one, once you have it good, you may have to kind of play with the angle a tiny bit to get it just the way you want. And that should be good. Let's see. So you want just that little bit of that border around again, and I think that looks perfect. Yep, so I'm going to ink around the edges of this one. So I have front and back for this. I think I'll probably do it that way. And then I also made a piece for this, the front of this flap. So this one is 3 7/8 inch wide by 7 inches tall. So again, taking 1/8 of an inch off, I would do the top or the width at 3 6/8, which is also 3 3/4. And I would do the the height as 7 minus 1/8, so that would be 6 7/8. If you don't want to do the math, you just line it up on your trimmer at 7 inches and then just back off 1/8 of an inch. That's what I do. So I inked around that one and I rounded the corners. I used the 1/2 inch, the bigger rounding corner on these ones, on the base and on here. So I'm just gonna glue those 3 pieces on. Okay, so I glued this flap, the top of that flap on, and I have this flap glued on, and I will make a closure for this probably next time. So all of our surfaces are basically covered now, except for this inside, which I'm going to make a couple of pockets here. So I think I'll leave that for next time. I don't want these videos to be too long. So I think I'll leave it here, and then next time we'll work on these pockets. We'll do this closure here. I've got a couple of pockets on there. I've got pockets on here, and all the little different types of pockets. We'll get started on all the pockets and belly bands and stuff next time. So I hope that you'll join me for that. If you want to follow along, make sure that you subscribe and turn on all the notifications so that you will get updates when I release the new parts of the tutorial. So thank you for watching today, and blessings.